Welcome to a bonus episode of the Blooms and Barnacles podcast, where we talk about things sometimes that are only tangentially related to Ulysses. I guess we don't need to introduce ourselves.
Yeah.
But you'll notice I'm holding a prop today, which is my Hamlet teapot. And that can mean only one thing. We're talking about Shakespeare today. And I thought since we're starting Scylla and Charybdis on the main feed of the podcast, we should probably brush up on Hamlet. So that's what we've done, sort of. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I guess I'll start by saying I don't think either Dermot or I have a great interest in Shakespeare. But we have, in my case, some respect for it. In Dermot's case, begrudging respect?
For the language, not the plots.
Okay. But begrudging or otherwise, we can't help but acknowledge that knowing the plot and general themes of Hamlet is probably pretty important. By probably, I mean definitely pretty important to understanding the text of Scylla and Charybdis, which is our actual job now. I thought probably the best way to see Hamlet, since there's no one performing it anywhere near us anytime soon on the stage, that we could find a film version of Hamlet and watch it. I did a tiny bit of research on what the best film version of Hamlet is. The one that came up again and again is the 1948 Laurence Olivier directed and starring Hamlet. Black and white film, won a bunch of Oscars. First non-Hollywood movie to win Best Picture.
Really?
Yes. So the movie won Best Picture, the 1949, at the 21st Academy Awards. Olivier won Best Actor, and do a little Oscar trivia. Apparently, Humphrey Bogart was snubbed that year for The Treasure of the Sierra Madre, and is still considered like one of the greatest Oscar snubs, that he should have been nominated for Best Actor. And he wasn't, and Olivier won. And so Olivier directed and starred in this Hamlet. So he directed himself to Best Picture win and Best Actor win. So it did pretty well at the Oscars that year.
I didn't realize he had won an Oscar for Best Actor. I had it in my head he'd never won one. So that was an interesting correction.
He may have won others. I did not research beyond this film much about his acting career. Mainly his relationship with Hamlet. So we watched this movie. You can watch it in its entirety on YouTube, as you can with many older black and white movies. Would strongly recommend that. I know Dermot's going to drop in some clips. And yeah, so I guess should we just start out by saying we've reviewed a few movies on this Patreon page. Some we liked and some we didn't. And did we like this one?
I did, actually.
Yeah, I thought it was good. It's very serious. One thing he does is he cuts out any comic relief that Shakespeare would have included in Hamlet. Which, did you know Hamlet is Shakespeare's longest play?
Yeah, I think it's 4 hours plus, four and a half.
If you perform all of the text of the original, it's very long. 4.5 hours, you said?
I think it's 4.5.
Yeah.
That's what I
4 is still way too long.
It is, isn't it? You needed an editor. I think Olivier made the right choice.
Olivier edited out a lot of stuff. There's no Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. There's no Fortinbras, which I don't think anyone cares about Fortinbras. But obviously Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are the comic-ish characters in this famous tragedy. They are not in the film. He just completely wrote them out. Because I was surprised. I was like, oh, where are they? But I learned in, doing a bit of reading for this, that basically any production you see of Hamlet edits it down because it's just too long. Olivier was critiqued in the film version because people felt at the time it was too long.
Too long.
It was a bit long, and he said, yeah, it's long, but that's why we had to edit out stuff. That's why we couldn't keep Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. We just got rid of all that. There are shorter productions of Hamlet that have been done. I think this film comes in around 2 hours that do include that stuff, but I think he had specific, maybe more artistic and not logistical reasons for not including some of that stuff. It certainly brings Hamlet much more front and center. He moved around the order of some scenes in it too. So before we get into that, what I'd like to talk about is Hamlet as a play, and then Olivier's Hamlet as a film, and then we'll end with the major themes in it, and why I think this really was the best one to talk about in terms of Joyce's ideas about Hamlet. If somehow you're listening to this and you're not caught up with the main podcast, I would actually recommend listening to our episode Hamnet before you listen to us talk about Hamlet, because we talk about sort of the continuity of Shakespeare criticism over the time. And 20th century interpretations of Shakespeare are greatly influenced by psychoanalysis and Freud. I think Joyce's version of Hamlet, which is really not, we said in that episode, is not really about Shakespeare or Hamlet at all. It's actually about Leopold Bloom and James Joyce. But I think it has a Freudian valence to it, because all the paternity and, father-son dynamics are so important in Ulysses. So that comes out in his discussion of Hamlet, and it was very, very explicitly important to Olivier as well in his interpretation of Hamlet in this film and on the stage prior. We'll talk about Freudian themes in this movie, which are overt, to say the least. Hamlet the play is considered to be the greatest play ever written in the English language. Dartmouth thinks it's okay.
That story's crazy.
So, do we need to give, a plot synopsis of Hamlet?
Why not?
We open Elsinore Castle.
Elevator pitch. So I'm the movie producer.
All right.
You're pitching the story. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'll give you 5 minutes.
Okay. Oh, I'm pitching to you?
Yeah.
Okay, so we open. It's roughly medieval times. Okay, we'll say medieval times.
It's going to cost money for the castle sets, but keep going.
Yeah. Well, we've got a very stark and artsy version with a bunch of stairs.
Good.
Don't tie me. There's this royal family. It's very Game of Thrones, right? The father has died. The son is depressed. His uncle has succeeded to the throne and married his mother. One night, a bunch of his friends see a ghost, and they say, Hamlet, you gotta come see this. It's a ghost. We're pretty sure it's your father. It is his father. The ghost tells him, your uncle killed me. Avenge my death. Hamlet is very emo, so maybe we can get like My Chemical Romance soundtrack, for the kids 20 years ago. But he has a very hard time actually doing the revenge. He spends most of it. So there's a great part in it for, some young, maybe a Timothée Chalamet or someone who could really has a lot of range and depth to be very moody and brooding. He is very mean to his girlfriend, so you can do some kind of commentary there. She goes insane and drowns herself. So again, you get, a young actress in there. She really very meaty role. He's in love with his mother. So again, it's kind of Game of Thrones vibes. It's very much as he and his mother do seem to be sexually attracted to one another in the Olivier version. But he has this great plot about halfway through to reveal his uncle's treachery, which is that he hires a bunch of actors to come in and perform a play wherein he reenacts someone murdering a king in a very strange and specific way, which is pouring poison into the king's ear.
It's meta. I like that.
Yeah. There's a play within a play, and then just all hell breaks loose. And I believe in the Olivier version, there's a lot of surprise deaths. And again, we're going to do real George R.R. Martin stuff here, where they stay dead, and it's really dramatic and it's shocking. The Olivier version uses the part where they get so fed up with Hamlet just wreaking havoc in their kingdom that they send him off on a ship to England, which is waylaid by pirates, allowing him to come back.
Pirates are going to blow the budget. Do we have to show the
They
pirates?
are off-screen pirates.
Okay.
But he comes back then, and he sees there's a funeral going on, and it turns out to be his girlfriend's funeral, because again, she drowned herself because she went crazy, so there's, and then he fights the girlfriend's brother, and he jumps in the grave at one point. There's he fondles some skulls and things. At the end, all the characters come together, massive sword fight scene, everyone dies, really tragic stuff. And then traditionally the King of Norway comes in at the end. We could just cut him out.
Yeah. So it's Game of Thrones meets Sigmund Freud.
Yeah.
Maybe we should add some dragons.
Which is also Game of Thrones.
We should add some dragons as well.
Well, if you're worried about pirates blowing the budget, where are you getting the dragons?
CGI, it's easy enough.
That's Hamlet.
Okay. Ooh.
So what are you gonna fund my? Do I get my $700,000?
Well, we have James Corden. Would he be okay for the role?
He can play York the Jester, who's already dead.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. When you describe it like that, it sounds pretty schlocky now, I have to say.
I would say something I learned in the time I was working on the blog entries for Scylla and Charybdis is that if you go on the Shakespeare Birthplace Trust, they have a Shakespeare wiki, and they have plot synopses that they've written of all of his plays. Mm-hmm. And it really reveals what I would consider weaknesses in the plot. of all these plays. I don't want to get into Merchant of Venice, but I found the play of that the actual plot of that play to be very weak. But I know we've talked about this a bit off camera, I guess, or off mic. I think one thing we might be reacting to is the structure seems strange because most, I would say all Hollywood films and TV shows are structured in 3 acts. And Shakespeare's plays are 5 acts.
Yeah.
And like 3-act structure is basically you meet a character, they have some kind of want. That's the first act. Second act is they run into conflict and can't get what they want. Third act resolves. Mm-hmm. That's 3-act structure. And I don't really know enough about Shakespeare plays to know what the 5-act why have 5 acts?
And I think the 3 acts would have been driven by time, right? Because if you got an hour and a half, classic golden age Hollywood, hour and a half, 2 hours would have been a very long movie.
But they made very long movies, like Lawrence of Arabia is what, 3-4 hours?
Those were like outliers.
Yeah.
Like, look at any mainstream Casablanca, it's like an hour and 40 or whatever. You know, King Kong, hour and 35. I'm pulling out of the air, but they're not 3 hour. Like the modern King Kong is 3 hours long. It's obscene, and the pacing is ruined. It's a 3-act story concept, and you've stretched it to what should be a 5-act structure or what have you. And what I read when I was looking into like the 3-act is that if it's a happy ending, the hero loses in the second act and wins in the third. If it's an unhappy ending, he wins in the second and loses in the third. Mm-hmm. The F. Scott Fitzgerald quote, "There are no second acts in American lives," as I understand it, is widely misunderstood. Yeah. To me, there's no second chances, but what it means is Americans don't like to do the second act because that's when you have to put in the really hard work.
They want to go through hardship.
They want to go from "I want to be a millionaire" to "I am a millionaire," which is fair enough. We all want to do.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Skip the second act, please. But you know that people are like skipping the second act.
That's a much more interesting quote, I think.
Yeah.
I know when we were watching this movie, I said to you, this is the most theater kid-brained plot ever, where it's like, oh, there's been this horrible regicide. I know how I'll tell everyone. We'll stage a play! And that will convince everyone to turn against the King of Denmark.
It's like something you see in a Disney movie.
No, I don't think a Disney movie would dare do that, because Disney did Hamlet. It's called The Lion King.
That's true.
You know, it's essentially Hamlet. There are some major deviations.
Yeah.